Okay, so you liked my 70707
Oh, yes.
recording.
That was so
Well,
good.
it just came as it flowed as it came.
The way it happens. It's so mom.
I do love to play with mom.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you have
So,
some questions.
so as I was listening, I decided to write down things that I was thinking while I was listening. So, the very first question is, when we talked yesterday about what do I want to do, you were talking about what do you want to do. I wanted you to elaborate on that actual statement from the point of view of, like, you talked about, what you felt you were here for, your purpose was, but what you want to do was about bringing together everything that, kind of, we talked about yesterday. We're bringing together the website, bringing together our heart gardens, uh, and those types of things. So I wanted to hear what you wanted to do in, I guess, perhaps, what is the first thing that you think that you should do, if you want to do it that way, or just whatever comes to mind. Uh, what do they call that? Uh, Something,
Conceptualizing,
not conceptualizing. It's something else. There's another one. Sort of free association.
free association. Uh, Start me off.
Well, you made the statement, what do I want to do? And we know that you've mentioned the things that you've mentioned yesterday, you talked about, but that isn't the only aspect of what do I want to do, because there is a lot more to that. Um, when you think about what do I want to do, what comes to mind?
Um, when I go back to my purpose and
Mhm.
um, what was this timeline written for? What was this lifeline? What was this? Why am I here? um,
Why do you think you're here? You told us
yeah,
yesterday.
well, my life has been lived um, and kind of made important to watch by me
Hmm.
because of the things that have happened in it. Like being told when I'm 8 or 9 years old that I'm going to get my own dog, my very own dog later in life. But there's no way it's going to happen any sooner. I couldn't make it happen any sooner. It would happen when it happened.
Hmm.
And it did 40 years later. So why was such a weird thing put in my life? What is the purpose of making me watch my life?
And what would you say you thought the purpose was?
Well, it certainly wasn't very apparent, to be perfectly honest. There wasn't any driving need to do anything.
You just did
I
stuff,
just,
and whatever happened.
well, not having a driving passion to do anything, I just basically did what felt like right or good, or I I made myself happy
Well, see,
as,
that's an important thing.
as best I could in the situations that I found myself in. And
So,
I really didn't know how to make any decisions. I just kind of, well, the thing is that when I grew up, they
mhm.
didn't have um, um, courses in study in what I do. Well, they
But
do.
the point is that you lived according to something that was coming either through you or from inside of you, even on an unconscious or subconscious
Yeah.
level. You were just doing,
Yeah, going forward.
right?
Yeah, as best I
So
could.
has that changed for you in terms of when you think of what do I want to do? Has that changed? You have come up with ideas.
Well, yes, I have. So I'm further down the road.
Hmm.
So, I've got more information basically by looking back. I know how to go forward because a trend has been set.
Good, good.
So,
Yeah,
in order to stay in alignment with that trend, I have to do a lot of soul searching and looking at the past and how was my path that I thought I was on change. It's like that time that I was in the going again onto the bus in order to get onto the other bus, in order to get onto the
hmm,
other bus and in order to go to the work that I didn't like and couldn't understand, and everything was so frustrating, and as I stood at the back door of that bus at a stop that was still within walking distance of where I lived. And the thought going through my mind, if that door stays open for as long as it takes for me to finish this thought, I will walk out that door. And I even gave it another couple of the moments, and it stayed open. And I walked out. And that was when I went to college for business management.
hmm.
It was because I went to the business management course that I got the diploma that enabled me to get my career at the city. I worked 20 years at the city in order to have the pension that allows me to do what I do now in comfort and basic ease. I am not worried about money. It's like a UBI, a
Hmm.
universal basic income. It's what everybody should have
Right.
because I can follow my passions and do what I do, depending on not on how much money's in my pocket and how much money do I owe. So
So
I
what I want to do for you is
okay,
continue doing what you've been doing.
yeah, yeah. So were there more
A
questions?
lot. Lots.
Oh, more questions, please.
Okay. Would you say what you want to do is multifaceted?
God, yes.
Good.
Um, multifaceted. What I want to do is multifaceted. Yes, it is. Uh, because what I personally want to do is travel and talk to people who are seeking the greatest good and to use their skills in support of the greatest good.
Yeah.
Um, I want to get my hands in the dirt and help people, help me, help Earth, help. I want to help.
So that's good. It is multifaceted.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very.
I also want to build my community. The
Absolutely. That's
sovereignty
part of it.
and health of my community.
Yeah. And I think to a certain extent when I also thought of the statement, what do I want to do? Within building your own community, what do you see is your position? I want to build my community is you physically doing it yourself? No.
No, no,
Right.
no. I'm a connector. I'm a
Hmm.
listener. Um, I um, I'm an artist. I'm
Teacher.
a teacher, a creator of ceremony and
Hmm.
ritual. Um, I'm a qigong teacher. You know, the one of my favorite parts of what got created was the qigong, the beauty way.
Yeah.
Um, and I really want to include that in the website, and it hasn't yet been.
True. And that's something that we can put into when you go in next time
Yeah,
to say, um, Qigong the beauty way, because it's all part of that. So good. My next question is, what would you say in the intro? Have you come up with your first words?
no, I haven't. And it's because of things like the beauty way. I mean, I forgot about that part of it. And we're so focused on the Our Heart Gardens idea that I have forgotten this whole other chapter that
Hmm.
is,
Part of the
foundational.
practice of Gaia aspect versus the Arhat Gardens, though Qigong the Beauty Way can be included in the Arhat Gardens when it evolves or
Yeah.
develops. So that's good. Um, so, in terms of when you do what this isn't written down, but in terms of like your first words and stuff, when you do a video, do you write it out first?
Oh, I would have to say that every video is different. A lot of them, I write them down.
Hmm.
There are some that have been off the cuff. There have been some that uh, I've lost, and some that need to be redone. Uh, I lost the iMovie files, but I still have the raw footage.
Right.
So, you know, somebody else is, is like, ah, yeah, yeah. Well, forward life takes you forward. Going backwards is not always the best way. But that's what historians do, and
Hmm.
that's what biographers do, and so it's not me doing it. It's just fine.
Right.
Can't
So,
do it all.
um, at what point you probably are going to say when I ask you this question, when it happens. At what point do you see yourself starting to work on your introduction?
And it would be easy to say when it happens. Um, on the other hand, um, I would like to put within the month.
Hey, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. It's kind of like when uh, in that tarot spread that I've seen James do. There's not a specific time, but there's like like a month
A
or
ballpark.
3 weeks. Yeah, yeah, cool. Okay. In the introduction, oops, let me bring this over in front of me. In the introduction, where will the shield be seen? Will you explain the meaning of each and how they contribute to your world?
That is a very good question, Joan. Um, I want them to have a special um, feeling, as in what happened for me was kind of a surprise. And I would like to have, that's what we're talking about all the time with mom, aren't we?
Yes.
A little bit of a surprise.
Hmm.
And so to have, say, the raven open an arm, the bear lift a paw, the whale flash a fluke, and perhaps a dragon, or an earthworm or whatever, showing the way forward into the website, and perhaps a hover that brings up a little story about them, maybe,
Well, that would be cool.
maybe that image as the introduction, and then um, a story about that,
Yeah, what they mean to you, how
what
they
they mean,
came to you.
the totems, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
That's good. I like that.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Good question.
Well, I listened to the thing and I wanted to be able to make notes, on some of the things that I thought we could go over or, you know, expand on that. So,
Yeah.
the next one is, and it probably won't come so quickly, but have you received a response from Hilo?
Actually, yes.
Ah,
I
ooh,
was just going to look at that. It came in the mail, and I got maybe two questions. You were mentioned. Yeah, I've got two from Hilo, so I'm going to look at the first one that came in.
excellent.
And Joyce says, I am an attendee just as you are, and I think while this summit ends, there are going to be a lot happening after, such as a few more events until summer. There is this EDE going on now, which I don't attend, but I know it's there, and people and organizations for me to discover. Hopefully it is also at reach for all people who have followed the summit. Now, I don't know what an EDE is, so
I don't
that's
know.
one. And the other one is um, from Kiala Young, who was actually who did the presentation at the summit.
Hmm.
He says, I'm happy to meet up with you and share an update. We did have a session on next steps for Hilo and Jen the other day. There are a few ways to keep weaving, though we will be creating some additional groups for that. We're planning to have a session for next steps again, though let me know where you're at and we can have a one-to-one if that feels most supportive.
Wonderful.
I'm going to mark that as unread because I'm going to go back to that later, because I do want to have a look at that. Now, Hilo was very much in alignment with my beliefs and
Right. That's why we
projections.
looked into the whole how do you get where are we going to find the about, the intro.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm
Um,
glad that they responded so
well, and the
quickly.
fact that it was him that
Hmm.
responded. Joyce, she's also attendee. She probably noticed that nobody had responded to me, and it had been a while, and now Kiala is coming in, and I'm so
Oh, good.
really glad to see that, because I really want to see them succeed.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know if the the actual machine is going to perform the way they want. What I want is for those people to succeed.
Sure.
I
Absolutely.
want them to feel successful. I want them to see the possibilities of what they're doing in conjunction with OGs.
Hmm.
And because the way I see it is that this idea needs to go out to all the networks. This idea, what I'm talking about, the purpose of the website is to put it down, to conceptualize the formation of the one that we are in process right now, so everybody can feel ownership of being a part of the hero that is going through the breakdown that makes him stand up.
Do you have specific information that you've written down about exactly what you just said?
There's been a couple of times it's come through.
Good. I mean, as
Um,
long as it's there so that you can,
well, it is and it's not, and I want it more and clearer.
maybe we can work on that in terms of getting you to um, elaborate on the process. You know, that what you were talking about, there's a process in that.
Yes,
There's
there
a
is.
process, and what that process may or may not be, but you know, hopefully, you know, in one of our sessions we can look at that specifically.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that touched a nerve, Joan. Thanks very much. Um, and I'm an extrovert. You know, here I am playing the introvert's role right now, and that's okay. But I am an extrovert in that I think by speaking. I don't think by sitting here silent. I don't learn by sitting here silent. Yeah.
I'm an extrovert too.
You would know.
Yeah. Now, I did something online to
What did
look
you do?
for
Uh-huh.
high-low.
Ah,
So I wrote a little statement above before I go in and tell you all the things that I found.
okay.
I'm getting the impression that high-low is a site which gives instruction about designing a website and a community.
Oh,
This is why I literally went in and I put down, you know, highlow.com. And here's the things, you know, in the uh, results page. These are
okay.
the things that came up.
Okay.
Co-creating Hilo, Empowerment Works Inc. www.flipcause.com. Secure. About. Now, I didn't go into that one, but it's written down here, so we certainly could go back to it. The foundation of Hilo is a suite of tools for community-based communication, collaboration, and social networking. On top of this, Hilo creates real-world outcomes that aren't possible with other platforms for unique features that enable bottom-up, emergent, and decentralized organizing. That's the first link that I came across.
Wow.
So we can go in and look at them, you know. Number
Well,
two.
before we carry on, I would just like to say I'm very pleased that you did the research because apparently I couldn't do that research from my computer. I think because of the cookies that Hilo
Possibly,
put in.
and it's very possible the fact that the you were doing it from the Hilo site itself, or were you
I
doing it
was doing it from a browser,
from a which
trying
browser?
Chrome,
Oh, okay.
you know, and
Yeah,
going in and changing the address in the address bar. And as soon as I put it in, it would change it back.
yeah.
That's a cookie.
There's yeah.
And so I wasn't able to do the research that you've done, Joan, and I need to be able to give that feedback to Kiala. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Because you know, not being able to make that um, that research,
Hmm.
uh, we have to be able to go back to get to that site in order to,
Which is why
well,
you asked
at least I
about.
think I do,
Well,
because
well,
I
but no,
can't find what I want.
what you saw is what you need to see
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
The next one says Hilo, Hilo.biz, Hilo Challenger, FSC, SPC, FZ, Sharha, SHARJAH,
Huh.
Sharha, Fifth and Tech Digital Solutions Offices 401-08 and 401-11,
Hmm.
building number 7, Bay Square, Business Bay, Dubai, United Arab or UAE, Emirates. And then it gives a phone number, 971-58108-3584. I'm assuming that's a phone number. And a second one,
Yeah.
971-523-06-6373. So that's the second result that showed up.
Uh-huh.
Number 3 is Hilo LinkedIn.
Oh, Hilo on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Are you in
Okay.
LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn. I spent a little time on LinkedIn today. Um, Chief Phil Lane Jr. had posted a reconciliation that he did. You know, this was like a group session that he must have done 30, 40 years ago, because
Yeah.
he's a young man in it.
Ah,
And to see him, and I recognized his voice, and they started with a sweat lodge. And so I was, of course, drawn in because of
absolutely.
my history with sweat lodge. And it was really, really interesting. Not easy to watch because, of course, we're talking about children.
Right.
And these are the grown up people that were the children in those schools,
Yeah.
and the things that happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
And what one of the things that came up was that the people who did these things, they started out wanting to do good, and they got off track.
Mm-hmm.
And the question was asked, you know, like, what happened? What happened to these people? And I really think it's environment and the frequency that they were living in at the time.
Very much so.
You know, that was the beginning of the breakdown, and you know the hundreds-year war or whatever that was going on in Mother Earth, in humanity.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad we don't have to do that again, but we do have to heal
Absolutely.
the pain that happened from that.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that I got to see that. I haven't finished it. I want to go back and finish it. It was well done.
When you go back into LinkedIn,
Mhm.
you can go to the Hilo LinkedIn.
Ah,
Hilo LinkedIn is www.linkedin.com. And then there's a little tilt, whatever you call those things, arrow, company / arrow, Hilo. And then it says Hilo, 181 followers on LinkedIn.
good.
So you can go and you can follow them. Hilo is a web and mobile app that combines group management, messaging, and collaboration all in one place. Sound familiar, Jamie? Stan? I'm sorry.
Oh, absolutely. Oh no, this it's cooking,
Yeah,
Joan. It's cooking out there.
yeah, it is.
And you know, and this is a different kind of cooking than we've done before. It used to be dog eat dog.
Hmm.
So how we actually figured this out is really going to be the making of us, because this is changing everything.
It is.
How do we work together? How do we honor the work that has been done as we go forward?
And that might be a good reading. How do we work together?
Yeah, it might. Yeah. Make a note of that. Make a note of that. We should do
I'll put it down at the bottom.
that. Okay.
How do we, as a world, work together? Reading.
Yeah, and honoring the work that has already been done while striving for the
Work
um,
done by striving.
um, reaching for the brass ring without reaching for the brass ring.
Okay, I'll put that down.
How else to say it?
Yeah. Okay. Now, um, come back up. So, I'm gonna just send this whole thing to you. It's in a notepad right now.
Uh,
And I'll send the notepad to you in an email so that you can look into some of these, or we can look into them together during one of our evenings. But let me just ensure that I do have this saved. And I have a Shannon folder. Just a minute. On my desktop. I actually have a folder for you on my desktop,
nice.
as well as in my thing. But this is going to be I'm trying to think of a way to put it so I'll remember what it is. Because it's about the website.
Yeah.
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 So let me just.
And that the file that I sent you today,
Mm-hmm.
the no, or last night's talk.
The
You can put
recording.
that in there as well.
The
And I'm going to
recording.
set you, yeah, and I'm going to send you the one from tonight as well.
Okay, good. Yeah. Um,
I'm still,
this is
you know,
questions.
I've got a whole bunch of audio files that I haven't ever done anything with. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them are audio files that I put in a different place. But it's like that one that I sent today that's 70707.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
um, I don't have a place for that yet. And I don't have any idea of the best way to present them because basically I've been working on videos. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
do I throw them into YouTube, or do um, I don't want to put the data in the website because that makes the website heavier, and it
Right.
keeps getting heavier and heavier. So I don't want to do that. So where do I put it? Is this a Spotify, or I I'm so lost in
Well,
that.
we will figure it out as we go along.
Okay.
There's individual steps, and even taking the time to ask questions is a step. And so then each of those things is a step.
Right.
So one step at a time.
Good point. Good point.
So okay, so that was LinkedIn.
Okay.
The next one was Hilo, a base camp for brilliance. HiloLondon.com. So Hilo's everywhere.
Yeah.
Your browser doesn't support HTML5 video tag, film building, lifestyle, transport, team, downloads, and contact. Now, this is something that they're saying my browser. Now,
Yeah.
I'm using, as far as I know, I use Chrome for the most part. I have Chrome. I have a secure browser that I use for secure things
Right.
like banking and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I have Foxfire because
Firefox.
they no longer, Firefox, thank you. They no longer support Internet Explorer. Nothing supports Internet Explorer anymore.
Right.
So I got Foxfire.
Firefox.
I still have the Internet Explorer up because I have my favorites and stuff in there, and I move them here and I move them there, or I get rid of what I don't think I need anymore. So when I send this to you, um, I'll what I'm going to do is look for the actual URL for each one of these.
Ooh.
And put the URL in, because it really is, this is just the actual results, but it was the way I copied it. I copy and pasted it. It didn't include the URLs except where the actual individual explanations included a URL.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
we'll find out about that one, the Hilo Basecamp for Brilliance. For whatever reason, the HTML5 video tag.
Yeah.
That's something that
Maybe I can see it on mine.
possibly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll let you know if I can.
yeah,
I'll screen share it with you.
yeah. The next one is called Hilo Fitness Balanced. Hilo Fitness. HiloFitness.com. So there it
Now,
actually has that.
well, it might be a different high-low, you know.
Right, because there's other things called Hilo.
Right.
So, but I just everything I it's had the word Hilo. So I mean we can get rid of what doesn't. Voted Charleston's best fitness studio. So this is Hilo isn't really about fitness specifically, right?
No. So I think that's somebody else.
Yeah, so I can literally just delete this one because it's not really giving us anything. That it's
So
all
far,
about
so well.
training and stuff,
Yeah.
yoga.
No.
So I can delete that.
Yeah,
So let me
I
just
think
do
so.
a delete on that. Okay. Now, so then the next one probably also, because it's Hilo Athletics,
Yeah, the same.
and they have running shoes.
Oh,
Yeah, I knew about that. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, the next one and the last one actually is how to, and I think they meant to say do because that doesn't make sense otherwise. How do we as a world, oh, this is what I wrote. I can't write.
yeah,
It's what I was writing when you
right.
work together, do a reading.
Oh, yeah.
Do,
Down at the bottom of the page.
yeah, well, I put it down there because I wanted to make sure that it was on there, but I didn't want to get it mixed up. Okay, so
Yeah.
I do a reading.
Mhm.
Now, honoring the work already done by striving, reaching for the brass ring without reaching for the brass ring. So that's it. That's what when I finished. I mean, that's pretty much what I came up with.
I like that. Thank you so much for doing that. The
Oh,
questions are important, and it is
yeah,
through answering the questions that the brilliance comes through.
yeah. And you sent me the thing to listen to, so I went in and I sat and I listened. And when something, I thought was, well, let me I need elaboration on that. I need more information.
Right.
And then I went in and because I wanted to see if I could find high-low.
Yeah.
And I found a couple of high-low instances, but the high-low.com by itself didn't seem to, it was like business. I don't even know if that one in Dubai is actually part of high-low.
Yeah. And that's, but you did find one, right?
Well, yeah, the first one,
The, yeah.
um, co-creating high-low empowerment works, Inc. www.flipcause.com, secure about. The foundation of high-low is a suite of tools for
Mhm.
community-based communication, and that really is them.
Did
So
you go into that site?
I haven't clicked on the site yet. I just wanted to
Ah,
get the list
yeah.
because then we can go in.
Yeah,
Now
I think that that is the one. And
yeah,
and if you want to go in
and the
there, I see that it's
LinkedIn.
8:05 now.
Yeah.
So I'm conscious of your needing to go. Um,
Well, wait, just let me do this. I'm going to take out the biz one, the one in Dubai, because I think
okay,
that's a business
I
thing.
think you're right.
So, given that, the two things we have is the co-creating and the LinkedIn. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. We'll check in on the base camp.
That
So,
actually sounds interesting, and I'm probably part of it.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, tomorrow or whenever we want to, take a look at them, we definitely can do this. I can send
excellent.
this little, uh, do, does your computer take Notepad, tech TXT?
Oh, yeah, I think so. It'll it, try it, and I'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, I'll send it to you in an
Yeah.
email.
Okay, that sounds great.
Instead of attaching it, what I'm going to do is just copy and paste it into the main part of the email.
Sounds great.
Cool. So that was good.
I think so. I'm going to stop recording now
Okay.
because I should. There it
And
is.
today you had given the date, right?
You mean Saturday, April 24th?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Okay, so we'll stop recording now. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for coming.